Welcome to the all-new CBN Praise from the Christian Broadcasting Network on CBN.com.
CBN Radio.
There is coming a day when no heartache shall come, no more clouds in the sky, no more tears to dim the eye. All is peace forevermore on that happy golden shore. What a day, glorious day that will be. What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. And I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, oh what a day, glorious day that will be. There'll be no more sorrow there, no more burdens to bear, no more sickness and no more pain, no more parting over there. And forever I will be with the one who died for me. What a day, glorious day that will be. What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. And I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, oh what a day, glorious day that will be. What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. When I look upon the face of the one who saved me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, oh what a day, oh what a wonderful, wonderful day now, that will be. Take a look in the distance, see a generation rise, called out of darkness into your glorious light. They will be fearless, giving up their lives, declaring freedom, lifting your banner high. Our hearts are beating like drums, beating like drums. The sound of joy is our war cry. We shout this anthem to lift you high.
Big Bird and the gang. Big Bird and the gang alone.
Ah, hey, that's a good idea.
Glad Big Bird is happy. All right, here's another good idea. Time for the Brody File commentary. You know, I've been thinking a lot about the debate that took place between President Obama and Mitt Romney, more like a debacle for President Obama. There's no doubt that if that debate was a prize fight, the referee would have stopped it. It was so one-sided that you can make the argument that if Mitt Romney ends up winning the presidency, he's going to look back to that night in Denver as the turning point. Not only was the president horrible, but Romney was really on his game. And that's what gets overlooked here. Romney showed the nation that he was ready for prime time. Now, he has 2 more debates to prove that Denver wasn't a fluke. For Obama, it's going to be hard to recover because the next debate is of the town hall format variety, which doesn't lend itself to attacking your opponent. Then, after that, it's a debate about foreign policy, which means Obama is not really going to get much of a chance to go after Romney head-to-head on economic issues again before Election Day. In short, the president blew it in Denver. And if the polls are any indication, it may cost him the presidency. All right, before we head to break, time to check in with star reporter Ariel, who looks at how the political issues of today affect the next generation.
Hey everybody, remember last week when I interviewed former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich? Well, I'm doing it again. Except this week's topic is Medicare. I don't really understand. So I thought he might be able to clear that up. So, Medicare, I mean, I know it's a big deal and everything, but why should I care?
Well, you should care, first of all, because if you have grandparents, you want to make sure that they are healthy and that if they get sick, you want to make sure they can get taken care of. So to the degree you like your grandparents, you should care about their health. Oh! You want a system that's affordable because otherwise we're going to bankrupt you when you go to work and you're not going to have any take-home pay.
The voucher system, I don't understand. I mean, I know it's run by the Republicans, but what is it?
Think of it as a coupon. Like when you get a coupon to go to the movies, the idea would be to put control back to the parents so that the parents and the child could decide, not the bureaucracy.
Thank you so much for joining me, Speaker Gingrich.
Well, Ariel, it's very good to be with you.
When we come back, a tale of 2 Catholics, Joe Biden, Paul Ryan, and the cross, how their Catholicism stacks up. We're back in a moment.
Life can be tough. There are challenges for all of us. Jesus told us to pray for one another, and that's exactly what we want to do. On 700 Club Interactive, we use technology to bring Christians together to pray for each other. Meet others just like you and talk or share with them in real time. Watch God work miracles in people's lives. Be part of 700 Club Interactive. Weekdays at 9:30 on ABC Family.
If you're the mother of a child with behavior problems, I'd like to talk to you. My name is Janet Lehman, and I'm a behavioral therapist and a mom. I know what it's like when the child that you love becomes a defiant, out-of-control child who disrespects you. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the program that tens of thousands of moms are now using to turn around their child's behavior. If you've heard about the Total Transformation and wondered if it will work for you, now you can try it for free. I'm willing to give away 1,000 programs today for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free. I know the Total Transformation works because I used these techniques with my own son and with troubled kids for over 30 years. Let me prove to you that it works by giving you the program free.
Call the number on your screen now to get the Total Transformation free.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
All right, welcome back to the Brody File, everybody. The tale of 2 Catholics, Joe Biden versus Paul Ryan. And here to break it all down, Jenny in the B Block and Johnny in the B Block, looking at both of their different worldviews.
Joe Biden is the first Catholic vice president of the United States. He spent most of his adult life immersed in politics, giving him a lot of influence over public policy. Here's what he said about abortion in a 2008 interview.
Well, I'm prepared as a matter of faith to accept that life begins at the moment of conception. But that is my judgment. For me to impose that judgment on everyone else who is equally and maybe even more devout than I am, it seems to me is inappropriate in a pluralistic society.
The vice president follows church teachings on caring for the poor, but is at odds with the church over his support for same-sex marriage.
Paul Ryan is also a devout practicing Catholic. He and his family attend the same church where he was once an altar boy. Being on the GOP ticket has helped to mute questions about Mitt Romney's Mormonism, something he addressed at the Republican National Convention, saying they go to different churches but share the same moral creed, that every life bears the image and likeness of the Lord of life. And last week, the campaign released a video directly addressing Catholic voters.
We need a president who will support our God-given rights, not try to circumvent them. The protections of religious liberty will be a cornerstone in the Romney-Ryan administration. Please take a moment to share this message with your family and friends. Encourage fellow Catholics to join our cause.
And look at this, the bobbleheads live and in person here on the set. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Sure.
Jennifer, what does this mean to Catholic voters at the end of the day here?
It's really a battle between the old and the new. You have older politicians like Joe Biden who are interested in a strong government social safety net at any cost, and then other Catholics who are following kind of a reaffirmation of social moral teachings. They're interested in issues about marriage and life.
Interesting, because that brings up social justice, and we hear so much from these social justice liberal Catholics who have been giving Paul Ryan really a hard time here.
You know, the breakdown for him really comes to his position as the House Budget Chairman. He's offered 2 budgets in the last 2 years that he calls the Path to Prosperity. The problem is some Catholics see that there are cuts that they see as devastating for the poor. They say that it's immoral. There was a bus tour by traveling nuns who said they were advocating against his immoral budget. But for Paul Ryan, though, he says it's immoral to leave this debt to future generations. So it all boils down to how one defines moral.
So Jennifer, therefore, when Catholic voters step into voting booths, I mean, where does it leave them exactly?
Well, and it's interesting. I mean, you know, we all get these emails. You get messages from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops one day condemning the Obama administration over the HHS mandate. 2 days later, you get the same group sending you an email condemning Paul Ryan's budget. And so I think it really comes down to what issue is important to Catholic voters. Is your issue abortion? Is your issue gay marriage? Is your issue government assistance for the poor? And there's a voter in Pennsylvania, a devout Catholic woman. Her name is Joanne Nardelli, and I think she perfectly exhibits this. She's been making headlines lately. She was a Democratic leader in Pennsylvania, campaigned for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama until one morning in May before Mass, she and her husband are watching Meet the Press, and they see the Vice President of the United States say that he's comfortable with gay marriage. She was a pro-life Democrat, but that broke the camel's back for her. And I think Catholic voters just have to decide what's important to them.
Well, that's the danger for Biden and Obama, to really go, you know, those Reagan Democrats, those pro-life Democrats that they really want to bring back into the fold, or not lose, at least. All right, guys, thanks. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Constitution and the Bible. It all happens in Florida. It's a Brody File exclusive. Back in a moment.
I started feeling pain between my spine and my shoulder blade. All I had was pain and no relief. There was a sizable mass consistent with a malignant cancer in the upper right lung. And that's complex, that's tough stuff. I was walking, talking, but I didn't know how sick I was.
I remembered seeing the ad for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and I thought, this is the place he needs to be.
To find out more about Cancer Treatment Centers of America and our unique treatment options for complex and advanced stage cancer, go to cancercenter.com. You'll be able to see our treatment results for many types of cancers and how they compare to national averages. You can also check for participating insurance plans.
The game plan was chemotherapy and radiation throughout the whole period. It was an aggressive plan of attack. I liked that.
We gave him chemotherapy and radiation. He was an amazing patient. He tolerated treatment exceptionally well.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is different. You feel it the moment you call or walk into one of our hospitals. It's state-of-the-art medicine, unique treatment options, and a level of compassion that cannot be copied. Why? Our people. People who give you not only their expertise, but their humanity, and the most thoughtful, well-organized, patient-centered care you'll find anywhere.
My strength came back. I began to become myself again.
George does have his life back now. He has a life that I never thought he was going to have.
With the teamwork, the treatment plans, the facilities, the combination of all the aspects of the treatment, I'm so happy that I went to CTCA.
Every minute counts when you're fighting complex or advanced stage cancer. So please call or visit cancercenter.com today. Appointments are available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Welcome back to the Brody File, everybody. We've heard a lot about the Tea Party brand of conservatism in this election. We've also heard a lot about how the woman vote will really make a difference in this election. Well, what happens when you combine that Tea Party spirit with a bunch of passionate women? You get this.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just ask that you continue.
These meetings are called WIN Talks. WIN stands for Women Impacting the Nation. Basically, think of a small group study setting, but these women meet a couple times a month to read and discuss constitutionally based books about our country's Judeo-Christian heritage. They started in Florida, and now they're spreading out all over the country.
We're trying to learn things and educate ourselves so that we don't sound foolish, that we have a basis of fact and history behind us, and we can just go up to anyone and say, this is the message that we have. Our nation has to come back to God quickly.
I wanted to be involved in a Bible study, which I am, but I needed more. I needed to do something, even if you call it more political or more involved with my country.
A lot of people know that women have always made a difference in our country. They've been behind great men. When women make up their mind to do something, you just need to get out of the way and let them do it.
We should point out that that group was started by a woman named Sue Trombino down in South Florida. Now the group expanding around the country. It's like a Bible study on constitutional steroids. Speaking of women, time to cue the cheesy graphic because the Democrats claim the GOP is waging a war on women. If you listen to the Democrats long enough, you would think that the Republican Party wants to force women to have abortions in back alleys. And President Obama is going after Mitt Romney on the women's health issue, too, saying he will make it harder for women to receive contraception services.
Yeah. Also, you made women. I can think of a better.
I think Mitt Romney is really out of touch with the average woman's health issues. This is not the 1950s. Contraception is
so... A couple people in chat mentioned that you made our Russia Today news, Russia Today news. There's the number 2 story there right now with the story of Mr. Wade Hicks Jr., the traveler stranded in Hawaii.
Isn't it interesting? The mainstream media in this country won't address this. They're too busy reporting on the theater of the WWF of politics, the debates. They won't touch us. Russia Today, a Russian entity, publishes this.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, why won't they touch this?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a question that should be answered. Our media should cover these things.
Yeah.
You'd think one would, and it's, I guess it's just not going to happen. I was reading a PDF today, and still in the process of reading this, radicalization. It's just called Radicalization, and this was put out. It's called Radicalization into Violent Extremism 1, a review of social science theories. This is from the University of Florida.
Now, don't get bored on us, folks, because this is important.
The Journal of Strategic Security. And they talk about radicalization and terrorism and how in this new technological age and new terrorism or extremism, they say that it's not just radical Islamists, but there are, it's more of an ideological war now with one ideology versus another, which would be anything that differs from what the administration and government puts out as normal. The opposition to that would be extreme, no matter what religion, race, color, or creed. And they talk about how to battle these ideas, how to battle the alternative media. And this is, I mean, this report gets into why, you know, Islam is not our enemy.
Right.
It's ideology of radical extremism.
It's going to be infused right into this New World Order business.
Yeah.
Okay. And people think, you know, folks, let me just digress a little bit because this is a good point to interject this. A lot of you, I'm sure, either watch the debates or a lot of you listening to this program in archive watch the debates. And, excuse me, there was a lot of commentary. If you watched Fox News last night, I guarantee you, well, I watched a little bit on both Fox and MSNBC. Fox were saying, hey, our people are saying Romney handily won the debate, flat out. I turned it on MSNBC, caught a little bit of Rachel Maddow and Tingle's Chris Matthews, and I say that with love in my heart, okay? Anyway, and Chris Matthews says Obama handily won the debate. Anyway, here's why it doesn't matter to me. And, boy, I never thought I'd ever say that about a presidential election. But here's the telling moment. And folks in the chat room, maybe tell me if you agree or if you notice this. There was something very, very wrong during that debate last night, aside from the normal things. There was a situation that was covered up. And that situation that both Romney and Obama tanked was the actual crux of the Libyan situation. Now, look, I know this was an economic debate.
Now, this grinds my gears because before the debate happened...
It does what, your gears?
Grinds my gears. Gets me mad. Gets me worked up because this Cindy Crawley, okay, before the debate...
I took my happy pills today.
Before the debate, this lady was scrutinized for being a moderator. Apparently, during the debate, said Romney was wrong and the president said it was terrorism.
Right.
But it was lying. And after the debate, after the, tens of millions of people turned off their TV, she admits, Cindy, or Candy, not Cindy, Candy Crowley. She admits that Romney was right about the Libyan situation.
Right.
So how many of those millions who watched the debate
said, oh, yeah,
heard her say no?
Exactly. Look, but that is you're exactly right. You got it. Did you notice Mitt Romney, his the frustration or the kind of like what do I do now when Obama's response to the murders by Al Qaeda's by an Al Qaeda affiliate in Benghazi, Romney, how he acted, he didn't know what to do or say. Obama falsely said that he called the murders in Benghazi a terrorist act the day after September 11th. Well, if you look at the text of his speech, no, he didn't. No. On September 12th of this year, right after the tragic murders or the cold-blooded murders in Libya, he first apologized to the Muslims for the video that was on the internet. Then he talked about the terrorism of 9/11/2001, and then and his visits to some of the graves of some of the victims. Okay, in that context, he mentioned the terrorist acts, not in the context of the killings in Libya. So it was completely out of context. So he was still blaming the murders on an inflamed and protesting mob regarding the video. Well, now Obama himself took his own words out of context, and Romney went along with it. That tells me, look, there's no, you can't tell me they didn't prepare, that Romney didn't prepare for this. You can't tell me this. So Romney had the opportunity to bury Obama, or not bury it. Let me rephrase that. Romney had the opportunity to tell the truth to the American people, yet they stuck, both of them stuck to the same, relatively same narrative taken out of context. It's so important because Libya, Syria, Benghazi, this whole thing, this is the doorway, this is the pathway to World War III. And the globalists behind this, they're calling the shots. So if you don't, if that one incident doesn't tell you, excuse me, that both Romney and Obama are on the same side of they're answering to the same paymasters, I don't know what will. Now, Obama, I believe, probably has gone rogue on some issues, especially with the Muslim Brotherhood. But Romney, same deal. I mean, he's answering to the globalist makers. So with all of this, and again, going back to the topic of tonight's show, with all of the news headlines we're getting, and the theater of the debate, Joe, I got to ask you, and I'll ask everyone in the chat room, and I'll ask people to call in on this. I think we know the ultimate goal, right? We know what the goal is. We know the goal is to implement a single global governance. That's the ultimate goal. And depopulation, eugenics, of course. Eugenics is a big part of this. We want to call the population down to about 500 million people in the world on this planet. And of course, we want the currency to be a one world currency. And of course, the oil factor or the energy factor is a part of this as well. So knowing those goals and objectives, I guess my question is all of this other information, all of the troop movements, all of the incidents, I mean, they're all dots, but are they relevant dots, or are we being led astray? By being led astray, are we leading you astray? I don't think that's the case, but I think we have to fine-tune and redirect our fine-tune especially our analysis, and that's kind of what. So I think that we're getting hung up on certain things when we should all take a few steps back and look at the bigger picture. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, I mean, we have to.
Right.
I mean, always though, not just in times of,
But see here, we're
increasing.
But we're entering into the most historic and important 60 days. The next 60 days are going to be the most important in this country's history.
I agree, because with the elections, we have. It seems there is going to be problems if Romney wins,
or if Romney loses, or if Obama wins. Right, there's going to be problems in both. What?
Right. I mean,
so do we believe the information? If Romney wins, there's going to be riots, or do we believe the? What do we believe?
I think there will be some. I don't know how big they'll get. There will be social unrest if Romney wins. So many people are afraid or state that he's going to cut off the food stamps, or that's what they believe. So they're freaking out about that. And whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
But see, again, this is where we have to kind of stop or separate the people who are telling us or giving us information. Or, it's easy. You go on the internet and you look at various websites, any number of websites, and they're all saying certain things. They're all saying, well, there's going to be riots. There's going to be, we're preparing for riots. We're preparing for this, and But I guess the bottom line, does this comport? Do these claims are they consistent with perhaps the agenda? Are they consistent with the ultimate agenda of the globalists? Because after all, that's what's going on, right? I mean, isn't that true? That's it.
Yeah. And listening to Rick Wiles, they were talking about the loss of private property from a vision a man had, and where Mr. Wiles interviewed him.
Right.
And the movie Atlas Shrugged 2.
Which is getting virtually no publicity as far as I've seen, but maybe I'm wrong on that, but okay.
He had the guy who had the vision back on to talk about it. Okay.
And it was a really good show. That was yesterday's show, I believe.
All right.
I listened to it today, and he talks about his vision where he was in the middle of a ball game or something with his kids, and they were somewhere outside, and all of a sudden there was an announcement, and 3 announcements were made. One was the dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency. 2 was all private property rights have been abolished, and I'm not sure what the third one was. But these things, really, we don't have private property rights anymore.
We don't.
But it's just at imaginary lines right now.
Right.
All what the QE3 is doing is using printed worthless cash to buy these mortgage-backed securities, these toxic assets.
Right.
And this is very dangerous. Lindsey Williams talked about this. Gerald Celente, many economists talked about. I mean, Peter. They're calling it the fiscal cliff.
Yes.
And this is the one thing that is universal throughout all networks, all websites, news websites. They've all used the words fiscal cliff.
And what does that mean?
Right. What are they referring to?
Yeah, exactly. And I asked Greg Evenson that because he used that phrase, fiscal cliff, when talking to us.
Yeah. And
so what does that mean? Do we know?
Yeah. In my opinion, it means
it's the key phrase, in my opinion.
In my opinion, we're on the edge of a cliff, leaning over, holding on to a piece of yarn. And the Federal Reserve keeps stacking dollars, on our backs.
Right.
That yarn's going to snap. We're going to go off that cliff.
And based on what Mr. Evenson said, and I defer to his wisdom because he knows these things about it's mathematically impossible. The fiscal cliff is a date or a checkpoint in time. Let's use that because the date is really unknown because it's fluid. It's contingent upon a number of economic factors. But that fiscal cliff, the edge of that cliff, when we go off of that, is a checkpoint, a moment in time when we can no longer pay. Right now we really can't sustain our debt, but it's when we cannot make the next day's payment for the debt. Now, some say it's going to come at the end of December. Max Kaiser, for example, is opining that it's going to be sometime in April. It really doesn't. Does it make a difference? Well, it does if you're unprepared and you need to get prepared, which is something we can address at another time. But that fiscal cliff, some are saying, look, we're going to be at that mathematical point sometime in December. But then you've got the European issue as well, because all of our finances are intertwined because of the global nature of things. And so if Europe implodes, or if there's a decision made by the IMF in Europe, well, that could affect that checkpoint, that date. They're actually, technically, and I don't want to seem, I don't want to hog the discussion either, but I don't want to seem like I'm reaching for grasping at straws here. But from everything I've seen, we should have gone off that fiscal cliff like before now.
Yeah.
But because of Bernanke and because of Geithner and because of Christine Lagarde from the IMF, they have pushed the world back.
Yeah,
they pushed this back, successfully pushed this back.
Yeah, they could not, meaning the Federal Reserve, could not do this alone.
No, exactly. And it goes back to the six families or six bank cabal of 6 banks. Mm-hmm. So then if that is the case, why did they push this back? Why not? Because remember, folks, when we were talking earlier this year, hey, maybe an economic collapse, Obama would be favorable to Obama, would guarantee him, an indefinite time in the White House because we have to have time to, everything would fall apart. We need to, we can't change now. Well, why not? Why hasn't it happened yet? Why hasn't it happened?
Yeah.
So are we giving, are we relying on information that's not correct? No. We're relying on information. We know the objective, but we don't know the time.
And that's why date setters get hung up, or that's where date setters get, they say, this is going to happen before the end of September. And then when it doesn't happen, well, boy, people start questioning things. Forget about the dates. The dates are fluid. The agenda is the same. The dates are fluid. And that's, I guess that's kind of like the moral of that story.
Yeah. In other news today, we got earthquakes. There is a 6.0 in Shargani in the Philippine Sea. There's a couple 5.0s. Looks like just in the Pacific Ocean, east of Australia, there is a, where is this? 3.2. This is in Central America, and we have this. I'm not sure how this ties in. This was in Oklahoma, a 3.2. There was also another earthquake in the same region, Texas, Oklahoma, and we have a situation getting worse in Louisiana. A 1.5 mile plume mushroom cloud near Camp Minden.
Now this is a definite huge dot.
Yeah,
folks, because talking with Steve Quayle about this, also talking with others, and we mentioned last night that there was one explosion, not 10 or 11.
This is separate from the sinkhole, too.
Exactly. But see, in reporting on this explosion, and there's nothing I can do to recreate the news stories from Fox and CNN. But they had used footage from 2008 and 2010. I mean, reports, I shouldn't say footage, but reports from 4 years and 2 years ago to create a series of news stories that convoluted the story of this one particular explosion. At issue, however, is the fact that there was this explosion. It was huge, and the federal agencies have prevented the local agencies from going and investigating. So what did happen? Who blew up the ammunition depot in that town?
It was a underground bunker that exploded. 7,000 feet plume of smoke going straight up in Louisiana near Camp Minden.
It's over a mile, folks.
On Monday night at around 11:30 p.m., multiple witnesses apparently reported that they saw something falling down from the sky towards the earth before the mushroom cloud was created. According to the Shreveport Times, the source was traced to be more earthly cause. A bunker loaded with explosives and leased by Explo Systems Incorporated exploded in the L1 area toward the central eastern part of Camp Minden.
Right.
The facility, formerly the Louisiana Army ammunition plant, consists of bunkers scattered throughout its predominantly wooded 1,500 acres.
So you've got a wooded area with a bunker with a whole bunch of explosive ordinances that went up in a plume, a mushroom cloud in Louisiana.
Yeah, Webster Parish Sheriff Gary Sexton says hazmat experts tell him the underground bunker containing explosives was what blew up late Monday night, and it worked exactly as it was designed to do.
What worked? The explosion? Or the bunker containing
the explosion, from my understanding, was that they designed this bunker so if it were ever to explode, the explosion would go straight in the air.
That's correct.
Instead of through the ground, creating an even bigger shockwave.
Right. But it was still a massive explosion. People were reporting their houses shook.
And then this is what gets me. The sheriff talks about, hazmat told them. Nobody's allowed to go back there but government and military personnel.
Right.
So who knows what really happened?
This was not necessarily, according to the information we received today from very reliable sources, this was not, the munitions that went up were not necessarily owned by the people that owned the bunker or in the name of the people that owned the bunker. In other words, could it be, and I'm going to just throw this out there, could this be munitions owned by the state? Now think about this, because this could fit into a narrative that would sound reasonable. Could this be munitions owned by the state, yet destroyed by the federal government?
Yeah, that is very possible.
And if that's the case, why would they do that? Well, in preparation for this. By the way, folks, waiting for the video, we are going to come up here in about 10 minutes, right after we take the break, close to the top of the hour. We're going to come up with a video, and you can see us on Homeland Security US, the number one.tk. That's Homeland Security US, the number one.tk. We'll be live and in person and vibrant tonight.
And see, things are running so well with the audio. It's like, we don't.
Boy, do we press that button? Do we press that on button? Before we move on, I want to make this clarification, because this is something that you talk about, false narratives and things. Let's get a little bit of rumor control under control. Folks, remember that 18 year, the Small Arms Treaty? You remember that? You've heard about it. The rumor that the UN, of course, secretly adopted this UN's arms trade treaty, which would subjugate Americans to the schemes of UN gun controllers. You recall this? Well, look, this confusion stems from, a misunderstanding, if you will, of the differences between July's month-long UN conference on arms trade. And remember that. It was a month-long. Remember that? Back in July, we talked about it. And there was a second review conference for the UN Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Trained Weapons. That's referred to POA, Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons. So you've got the ATT, which is the Arms Trade Treaty, the POA, which is the Program of Action on those weapons. Well, that Program of Action took place between late August 27th through September 7th. Now, both, while having many of the same anti-gun supporters and objectives, are two very different UN initiatives. This is where the subtle deception comes in, these very subtle deceiving things, where you say, well, geez, the UN passed the Arms Trade Treaty. No, what they did do was something a little bit different, so we would go out there and say, hey, this is bad. No, because once we make that assertive statement or that definitive statement, the people can say, look, no, it didn't go down that way, but yes, it did go down, but not that way. The ATT, the Arms Trade Treaty, would be a legally binding treaty that would require parties, meaning us included, to adhere to the treaty's provisions, and many of which are just absolutely incompatible with our Second Amendment rights. For the treaty to be ratified, it would have to be approved, folks, by 2/3 vote in the United States Senate. Okay, now during the July ATT conference, the NRA really stepped in, really did stop the treaty, basically. I mean, they were a big part of this. The treaty was shelved, but there were attempts to revive it. Now, here's what did happen. Excuse me, the POA, remember that? The Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons is an attempt to create a voluntary international set of standards for the control of small arms. This is voluntary. The states are encouraged to adopt these controls domestically and to report their progress. Now, many of the standards proposed in the POA process, well, they conflict with the rights of gun owners. The U.S. has participated in the discussions of the POA. No domestic legislation that's been passed. The POA is not an extension or alternative to the Arms Trade Treaty. So we have this rumor being floated out there. People have treated the continued participation of the United States in the POA process as evidence that the U.S. has adopted the Arms Trade Treaty or any other mandatory UN gun control program. That's not true. And by saying it, it's not true. The fact that we are continuing our participation in the POA process, however, is evidence that this is where it's headed. So although did that make sense? Okay, I think it did. Hopefully I explained that well. The Arms Trade Treaty and the POA are two distinctly different activities. Let's not confuse the two. We have not passed, the United States has not signed on to the Arms Trade Treaty. We've engaged in the program of action on small arms and light weapons, which will lead to the ultimate compliance of the United States. And it seems like I'm splitting hairs here, but when we have to be very careful in what we say, because, again, let's not give our enemies, the fact checkers out there, and it's a good thing for fact checking. Let's not give them a baseball bat to club us in the head with. So I just want to make that clear. But look, folks, you can read the documents produced for the Arms Trade Treaty and the POA. You can read these, but it makes it clear that these UN initiatives are aimed at controlling civilian gun ownership. That's gun ownership by you and me. Thanks to the NRA, though, the Arms Trade Treaty was kind of stifled for now. But the UN is continuing, and this administration or this regime is continuing to cooperate with this POA, or the once again the Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons. So, what I just say? Well, the Arms Trade Treaty was not signed, and we did not sign. It's not affecting us right now, but by us engaging in that initiative known as a POA, is evidence that we are committed, not we, but this regime is committed to controlling, taking away, ultimately disarming the American public. How fast could this happen? Some are saying anywhere between a year and maybe 3 at the outside. If it's pushed, however, it could happen in months. So I just want to clear that up.
I don't know if you mentioned this, just want to give this an update. I saw somebody say something about this yesterday in the chat on Steve Quayle's site.
Yes.
Alert, Devil's Disciples are faking a survey on my site. Do not respond or answer. I did not originate it. It says, hi, Steve. I wanted to let you know of something strange. Your site is a part of my daily routine, and today I was looking at the alerts. I just got done praying for our brothers and sisters in Iran. I look up to my homepage, and there was a pop-up saying I have been selected to do a survey for stevequayle.com. And I just needed to answer if I view your site at work, at home, or other.
Okay, yeah, I talked to Steve about that yesterday, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, but in the frenzy of things, it probably didn't get out. Steve does not participate in or have surveys.
Okay, yeah.
All right, that has nothing to do with Steve Quayle's site.
Yeah, so definitely do not participate in that survey.
Correct.
And also, going back to this explosion in Louisiana, there is a Orion meteor shower coming on the 21st.
It's Orion, but it's the Orion belt. But I have a problem with that. I don't know how they make that word. What that word is?
Yeah, the 21st. This is from Halley's Comet. Every year to mid to late October, Earth passes through a stream of dusty debris from Comet Halley, and the pre-dawn skies light up with a pretty display of shooting stars. We expect to see about 25 meteors per hour when the shower peaks on Sunday morning, October 21st, says Bill Cook. And so watch out for that. But I saw a shooting star last night, and it was kind of low. It was pretty weird. And I just wanted to mention that it could tie into this explosion in Louisiana, because people did say they saw something looking like a meteor coming down and hitting this. But anyway, I had to bring that to your guys' attention. Also, October 15th news, world grain reserves at a very low level, leaving no room for extreme weather, warns the UN. The world grain reserves are so dangerously low that severe weather in the U.S. or food exporting countries could trigger a major hunger crisis in the next year, the United Nations has warned. Falling harvests in the U.S., Ukraine, and other countries this year have eroded reserves to their lowest level since '74. And that is a year when we experienced record heat waves. The U.S., which has experienced record heat waves and droughts in 2012, now holds in reserve a historically low 6.5% of the maize that it expects to consume in the next year, says the UN. And it goes on to talk about the dangers of this. And we all know the dangers of this. We've talked about this since the drought was happening during the summer. And this is something to look out for. We'll see food prices, hitting new highs. This is not good for third world countries that depend on our wheat and grain exports to survive. I mean, I haven't looked at maps to see exactly which countries and areas we do fully supply with food, but they say if the United States were to not have any crops, the world would starve. And we need to look at this very seriously. Also, just a quick announcement, we are going to be live on video after the top of the hour break.
That's correct.
At Homeland Security US, _1.tk. And also, this piece of news, thank you to whoever put this in the chat room. Syrian believers are spreading the gospel in midst of unspeakable horror. Pray for the believers in Syria. Their only protection and security is the Lord. We take food to some of them, but it is never enough. They are in grave danger in Syria, but there is no place for them in Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, or Iraq. Pray for them as they cry out to the Lord, because He is enough. This from Breaking Christian News. It says Syria, night after night, we see the same images on television of a country at war with itself. There are hotspots of activity, but there are areas of opportunity where indigenous ministries can spread the good news and give aid to the affected. The most dangerous time is at night when people lock themselves up in their homes and pray that nothing happens. During the daylight hours, indigenous ministries travel to various communities. And it just goes on to talk about two different ministries and what they have gone through, and how rebels, it tells a story about how rebels started killing everyone in one of these villages, children and adults, it didn't matter, killing hundreds, stealing anything of value they can find. This is what these people are going through, not only in Syria, I'm sure all over the third world countries, the countries that our government backed in overthrowing, and we need to pray for our fellow brothers and sisters around the world, because we think, some of us think we have it bad. We don't know what bad is, but unfortunately, I have a feeling we're going to find out in the not too near future, or the not too far off future. And it goes back to the headline of the show and the topics raised in the episode description. Is America on the brink of a disaster?
But, we really want to hear your views, because, one of the ways that we kind of gauge, that we use as a barometer of things, is by talking to other people. And as we have always said, you folks who listen to this program, especially who take the time out to listen live and to watch live, you have a lot of information and a lot of insight. And I would consider this more of a roundtable discussion. What do you think? What's your gut telling you? What is your intellect? What's your spirit telling you with respect to what's going on here? Are we going to see these elections pass normally, or could there be? Or are we being set up for some sort of false flag operation? Why is there such a quiet? Why is there such a quiet right now? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that the Pentagon is quiet? Have you noticed that pretty much all people who know things are quiet? There's a deafening silence out there.
Yeah.
Why is that? Well, historically, before battle, there's usually a run-up and a lot of disinformation spread, but then there's a calm, there's a quiet before something actually happens.
Another story I want to hit, much of this before the break as we can. Canadians knew of geoengineering scheme to put iron sulfate in the Pacific. And I'm not talking about a little bit here. Over 100 tons of iron sulfate has been dumped off the Canadian coast into the ocean.
Why would this?
As controversy mounts over the Guardian's revelations that an American businessman conducted a massive ocean fertilization test dumping around 100 tons of iron sulfate off Canadian's coast. It has emerged that Canadian government may have known about the geoengineering scheme and not stopped it. The news, combined with the Canadian obstruction in negotiations over geoengineering at a United Nations biodiversity meeting in Hyderabad, India, has angered international civil society groups who have announced that they are singling out Canada for recognition of shame at the summit. They are criticizing Canada for being one of 4 horsemen of geoengineering, joining Britain, Australia, and New Zealand in opposing southern countries' efforts to beef up the existing moratorium on technological fixes for global warming.
But what's the what? I guess my question is why? I mean, what's the end game here with that? What's the end game? What are they trying to do? Do we know?
No.
You
In
really
this
don't
article,
know.
it mentioned something about oil, but this is not what.
But in the end, it's all about oil.
Right.
In the end, it's all about energy. In the end, it's all about genocide. We have to keep those in mind.
Remember, John Holdren, science czar, admitted that they are spraying
depopulation. I'm sorry.
chemtrails, geoengineering, weather modification style programs they have going right now.
But still, again, how does this fit with what we know the agenda, what the actual agenda is?
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into updates with the sinkhole in Louisiana. We're going to take your calls and have video back up.
That's right.
As we come back from this break.
And also, after the break, in addition, I want to talk about Ulsterman's White House Insider Alert for today. I got some things to say about that, so stay tuned.
Give us a call at 661-244-9839. We will take your calls on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Wednesday, October 17th, 2012. Folks, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your
You have a caller.
or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, through the harshest environment or situation. They are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Hi, folks. Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on. What's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
If you're stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time. with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Hold on to your seat. The HAGMANN flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And thanks, Lori. That's Lori Roth singing vocals there. And America is not going to be America anymore. Well, you know, look, again, the whole situation is fluid. It's not etched in stone. The confluence of events are going to involve the economic factors as well as something overseas. Wow.
Sorry.
Now, that was my fault. I'm not.
Don't you love when websites open up and just start playing music?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we would never do that on our website, HomelandSecurityUS.com. We don't have the pop-up advertisement. I did pop Ulsterman here, the Ulsterman Report. If you haven't heard about this, it's the UlstermanReport.com. And this is a gentleman who reports to have a White House insider. And this kind of, I look at this sometimes and I wonder, geez, are we talking to the same people? Now, look, I don't have anybody inside the White House. I don't have anybody inside Wall Street. I don't have a military insider. I've got somebody inside the intelligence, inside DHS. I don't have a military insider or a White House insider or a Wall Street insider. However, DHS person, the contact I have, does talk with people at about the financial things, especially about the about what we're talking about tonight, about the economic cliff, the fiscal cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's Alterman. This just came in from the Insider. It's got a big flashing light and such. Bin Laden version 2, and this kind of flows directly into the information that we're spreading earlier, or that we're providing for you now. Military intelligence may have tracked the location of a guy called, he's got a Muslim name. I'm not even going to try to, what is that, Katala? Who apparently organized the Benghazi attack. This insider says, check media reports for the name. Obama is to order drone strikes or possible all-out bombing operations. Where? Well, it appears imminent. Obama will make the claim, and apparently they're talking about either in or around Benghazi. I don't know. It's inferring that. It's not coming around and saying that.
I mean, Obama didn't even know the cause of these attacks, or
supposedly.
Yeah,
right.
But he's going to know who carried them out.
Well, again, this is a convergence in this case, according to this source. Military informants with the executive and the Department of State.
Yeah, and I said that knowing who did the attacks. I'm sure they know full well who did the attacks. It was caught on tape by a drone and also another camera, and satellites, and they can monitor everything and anything across the whole world. So I'm sure they have an idea, and if not, know who did it. But that does not justify drone strikes across a whole region.
Well, they're talking about all-out bombing attacks now in retaliation.
Yeah, I heard that. That was also on the Rick Wild show, I think from 2 days ago.
Okay.
Either 2 days ago or yesterday, I'm not sure. He talked about this. But an all-out bombing of...
But see, here's the issue. The imminence of this, the urgency behind this now is going to play right into this October surprise. And I don't know about you folks. I never really understood this October surprise, this talk of October surprise. Well, what is an October surprise?
I'll give you an example here.
Okay, go ahead.
2004, Bush was running for re-election.
Right.
And Madeleine Albright came out and said Bush might roll out bin Laden's dead body for an October surprise to win, re-election.
Right.
The surprise would be, they have bin Laden's body on ice, but they're using it
and then bring him out
for a political purpose. We know that they have done this before. Tom Ridge has said in his book he was the first head of the Department of Homeland Security that he raised and lowered the terror threat level of this country based on or for political purposes, not because of terror threats or siege.
Now,
so that's like an October
definition.
surprise.
Okay, or an example of an October surprise. So it's designed to do what? Help the incumbent, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where's Romney in this now? See, that's kind of an issue I've got. Wouldn't you think that if this was imminent, the Romney camp would have some level of knowledge about this? I don't know. That was just me, or some campaign strategist or somebody would have knowledge of this. And then you get into the whole theory of it, everything being so obvious. What would happen? Well, this is not too obvious. This is still part of the ongoing, evolving Benghazi situation, as one of the listeners had given us, Death Race to Damascus, or Death Race Damascus, which I like a lot better because at the core of everything is the fact that Syria, we are fighting a proxy war against the Russians in Syria. Okay, that's what's taking place here. The murder in Benghazi, again, please remember this, the murder in Benghazi was a shot across the bow of Americans, of the American executive branch, to warn us off of funneling weapons into Libya, or into Syria, via Turkey and Jordan, or Turkey at least. That's what this is all about. So we are going up against the Russians. The Russians have said, do not do what you're doing. And we said, no, we're going to keep doing it. hence the murderous activities in Benghazi. So now, according to the White House insider from Ulsterman, Obama is going to double down, and from that he is going to punish or exterminate, rid the country, or rid the threat of this, this gentleman, supposedly behind the murders. So which is being set up, but to bring this together with what my source is telling me at DHS is, we can't really put a timetable on this. We're running the DHS, they are running defense right now. I can't put a timetable on this, but look for whatever happens overseas, or whatever happens from a war footing, because you've got this war mentality. Look for that to converge with the economic issues, and then we go down that way. So that's the latest. My source has been pretty much in close contact with me throughout the last couple of weeks. So I'm working on a very comprehensive update as well.
We are going to go to the phones now. Folks, if you want to weigh in, give us a call at 661-244-9839.
Interested to hear what
see
you're thinking.
A lot of people in queue right now. If you want to let us know that you want to be on air at the beginning of the call, you press 1 to speak with the host. It puts a little marker next to your number. Otherwise, there's no marker next to your number, and we don't know if you want to talk to us or not. So we're going to go to the phones right now. Area code 757. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. I did a little research, and I just want to know if I'm on the right track and see what you guys think about this. I looked up some information on the Great Depression, and right before they were loaning $9 for every dollar in the bank, which is kind of what they're doing now. And they had 607% unemployment in the U.S. We were the highest across the planet. People lived on powdered milk, rice, and beans, and during the Great Depression, the bread was anywhere from a penny to 10 cents a loaf. Then I went back and looked at the Confederacy, and that money was kind of like our money is now. It was an article of credit, a promise to pay. Well, when that ended, of course, that money was worth nothing. And at that time, bread was $50 a loaf and $2,700 to buy a new suit. So I'm kind of building up to this.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing well. You're doing a good job. Go ahead.
Okay. I've realized that it seems like the globalists, they're using our cash, Americans' cash, to buy up the real estate, gold, silver, gems, oil futures, oil wells, coal and gas, all the natural resources. They're using also our money to do it. And it seems like if you disagree with what's going on right now, you have to take everything to court and let a judge rule on it. And see, once a judge makes that ruling, you're kind of stuck. And it's like our Constitution is being shredded through the courts. And a lot of our bailouts have gone overseas. And let's see, I have some notes. Now, our energy is going to skyrocket. We know that because of the oil, the coal, and then the food will skyrocket because of the droughts, the cost of gas or fuel to get the food where it's got to go. And, you know, they also, the EPA in California, they stopped water that particular area. They had what I call the bait fish. So, you know. So I figured out if our monetary system collapses, I've read that they already have new money ready to go, a global currency, and that it will possibly be based on gold and silver. Now, I've been doing a little math, and it's kind of scary. You know how now the interest rates are really low, And when you look at your 15-year, 20-year, or 30-year mortgage, you're not paying as much interest as you did over the life of the loan like you did when it was 8%, 10%, and 13%. Looks good. Looks really good. But if they base this new money on, let's just say right now it's a dollar gold piece, a dollar silver piece, say $32.
Right.
So, do you see where I'm going with this?
I do.
So, yeah. So, in other words, if they do that, then even though I might have a low mortgage rate of 3% or 4%, in the end, on let's say $100,000, $200,000 home, you could end up paying $3.2 million. Do you see what else? If you do the math and base it on if that's what they buy your currency for, and if let's just say you have $5,000 in the bank, and then let's say silver's $32 an ounce, you're going to end up with $156 US. 5,000 goes to $156, and then they say gold and silver will double. If that's the case, you're going to end up with $66 in the bank. So. Am I doing pretty good here with the math and trying to figure this stuff out? Because nobody's talking about this part of it.
Well,
right now, bread is. Bread's.
Yeah, hold on just a second. If I can ask, can you tell me your first name?
Yeah, it's Cynthia.
Cynthia. You have absolutely done a phenomenal job. Absolutely 100% done a phenomenal job in explaining what's about to take place. Better than I could have done.
And a loaf of bread, let's say right now you can get a loaf of bread for $2. Well, it'll be $64 if it's based on the current cost of silver per ounce. If it doubles, it'll be $150 a loaf. And here's my finale here. Gold and silver will rise once the dollar collapses, okay, which means everything's going to double up. So eventually the gold and silver will level out. And to me, those little gold coins or silver coins you have will still be worth face value at that point.
Okay, right? When you say face value, what do you mean by that? That's
a silver dollar in the end will still be worth $1 once it levels out, because gold and silver rises once they level this stuff out. Once they get you for all you got, because that's the way I see what's happening. They are taking everything, and this is why they're bundling those mortgages up again, and the Federal Reserve is buying these mortgages because you're not going to be able to pay for your home
unless you pay in gold or silver.
Right, but there's only so much gold and silver a person can have.
That's right. Yeah.
Especially if bread is $150 a loaf.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to eat before you...
Now, you've explained this very well. So, now that's actually how it would work or should work, but how it will work is what we've seen last week or 2 weeks ago, where the G20 people, or I'm sorry, not 2 weeks ago, at the end of August, had already created the solution to the problem that we're seeing right now. They created this strategic reserve currencies, a basket of currencies that will come in and replace the dollar. But the concept that you talked about with regard to the gold and silver is exactly 100% right, Cynthia. 100% right. So
well, that's what I was afraid of. I mean, that's what I put it down on paper, and I'm like, okay, let me think about this.
Yes.
And I started my little calculator, and I'm like, oh, my Lord. Now, here's the other thing. Lindsey Williams had said that China is out there. Now, Friday, the yen outpaced the dollar, and China's being a little, sticky wicket here. But anyway, they have made agreements with Brazil. They will currency swap, will not use the dollar. China and Australia will not use the dollar. India and Japan will not use the dollar. Iran and Russia, it was in Bloomberg, they're not going to use the dollar. Chile has made agreement with China, no dollar.
That's right.
China and United Arab Emirates will not use the dollar. China and Africa will not use the dollar. So what does that tell you? Coming soon. Either China's going to do it or the other people are going to do it. right?
Yes. You have done a better job explaining. Boy, I'll tell you what, folks listening to this on archive, rewind go back and listen to what Cynthia said again, because that's exactly how it will mechanically or mathematically play out.
Yeah, the dollar has already been devalued,
right?
95 to 98% since 1913, since its inception. QE3 is adding to the amount of dollars circulating, and now China and Russia are different countries moving away from using the dollar. Those dollars will also flow back into the country, and we could see a point where we wake up one day paying $5 for a gallon of milk, $4 for a gallon of milk, to $10 or $15 in the blink of an eye.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Walmart, Walmart, last Friday, $5.22 a gallon for milk, no matter what brand.
Really? Okay, now, is that regional? Because I have to check.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I think it was $3.95 or $3.98 here for a gallon.
I buy my milk at BJ's.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like $3.17.
Okay.
$5.22 at Walmart.
That's interesting, but prices.
The sad part is a lot of welfare people, they shop at Walmart, and they're gouging the hell out of them. Okay.
Sure, they are. Well, the food prices are forget everything else. Forget the CPI index and all that. Look, the signs are in the food prices. If you want to know what's going on with our dollar, look at the food prices. That's where it's at, because that's going to tell you more. That's going to give you a better idea of the state of our economy. Now, you mentioned something very interesting too, because you combined. You did a great job, by the way. You combined Lindsey Williams in there with Peter Schiff, I believe you might have been listening to, and maybe a little bit of Gerald Celente, possibly. So I don't know.
I did some research, too. I mean, I do listen to quite a few people, but I also sat down and said, okay, let's forget everything. Let's just go do a little research. Let's think about this. And I broke out my calculator, and I started going. And I said, oh, my gosh, we're in trouble.
Okay.
Just put my thinking cap on. Because nobody's saying, they're saying it, but they're not basing it on what I just said, putting it in black and white. Here it is. Here's what can happen. Okay,
but you're exactly right with that scenario. Now, we could spend like 2 programs on it.
Yeah.
How so in that extrapolation, that explanation you've done, how would you, knowing what you know now, and by the way, it just came out where $1 or $1.1985 is worth about 24 cents today because of the devaluation. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, and that fits pretty well with your gold and silver model.
And income inequality has soared to the highest level since the Great Depression.
That's right. Now, how can we, Cynthia, how can all of us best prepare for something like this, given that scenario which you described?
Well, the only thing I can say is food and water and guns and ammo, because if the dollar collapses and you've got wild people out there, and I mean they're wild, they're going to come try to get what you have. And there's nothing wrong with feeding people, but you need to give it to the church and let the church handle that. Don't have people come to your home.
No, and you're right, because ammunition. It's often said ammunition is going to be the new currency of this decade. And I believe that to be partially the case, along with whiskey, cigarettes, and other items that are typically traded and bartered. Bullets, and bullion, and beans, basically. Okay, that's what we're going to be dealing with. Now,
the most important thing is food and water. You've got to try to survive.
Well, of course, yeah. Yeah, because they're saying now, and Joe mentioned this earlier in the first hour about the corn, the food because of the drought, that also affects the beef prices, or ostensibly. But no, you're 100% right. It's going to crash, and it's going to crash in that fashion. But they already created the solution, that being the SDR, the strategic, the bag of currencies. So they've already done that. So, but what happens in the meantime? Because the dollar is going to have to devalue, as you said. It's going to have to be devalued.
Yes, and I believe Bernanke said that would be the last thing that he does.
In more ways than one. Yeah, in more ways than one, it's going to be the last thing he does. And that's not a threat to the agents listening to this. It's not a threat. It's just, seriously, it's going to be the last thing he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
anyways, I just, nobody's quite put it that way, and I just wanted to see if I was on the right track here.
Yeah, you're, yes. In fact, that you very eloquent in terms of your walking us through this. Your notes are absolutely correct, and it's just a matter of when.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
I'm going to send you a little email about some movements that I don't want to broadcast on the phone.
Okay.
So just for some FYI. Okay?
Very
Thank
good.
you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Bye.
Bye.
You know, we've got the smartest, the most articulate, intelligent listening audience ever. I mean, really. You listen to some of these shows, this is great.
Yeah.
Cynthia was fantastic with that information.
Yeah. We are going to go.
Yes, as you type over there. What are you?
To our. I'm just letting this person know we're going to their call.
Okay.
This way it was talking about the information on the post office.
Okay.
From Colorado, our friends in Colorado. Are you there?
I am here. Hello, Joe. Hello, Doug.
Hey, how you doing?
Good evening.
I'm doing well. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Very well, thank you. What's up?
Well, as of Monday, there was a 2-hour evacuation in my post office because white powder was found.
Oh, back to 2001 now, 2002. Okay.
Yeah, we're back to that again, yeah.
Right.
And luckily it turned out to just be powdered vitamins. But the most recent thing is something that happened today, which I found pretty alarming. I'm pretty concerned about it. Now we have the TSA with our hand in our pants, but now you have Homeland Security in our parcels.
Okay.
I had a customer today corner me and ask me how come a couple packages were left out exposed where somebody could easily get to them to steal them, or they could get rained on or something like that. And I said, well, I didn't do it. I said, I haven't even been by your house yet today until just now, when I drove up. And the guy says, well, somebody left these packages here, bright and early this morning in front of my house just behind the chain link fence. And, it was out where the elements could get it or somebody could steal it. And I said, well, gee, I said, I have no idea what the heck that's all about. He said, are you sure they're U.S. mail? And he says, oh, yeah. He says, I checked the label on it. And I said, well, that's really strange.
You know what, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that just happened to me. There was 2 packages at my door, and it looked like and there were 2 separate areas of this small porch I have. It's just a cement walk-up with the railings on the side, and the one box was wet because it was raining. Mm-hmm. And it looked like, somebody came up and rifled through it, the 2 boxes, looked at them, and just tossed them back, wherever they landed.
Okay.
I thought that was strange.
That's kind of what I'm going to get to here.
All right.
I called my supervisor and kind of gave them a heads up. I told him, because I told the guy, you need to call in the post office and just find out what the heck's going on. I said sometimes, occasionally they'll get in a late run of packages, and they might have just had somebody available there that ran out, a bunch of packages, early in the morning or later on. Before I'd gotten to his house. And I called my supervisor and explained the situation that, you're going to have this guy call in and probably be madder than a hornet. And she said, okay. And he called in, and what he was told by the post office, and I don't think he spoke to my immediate supervisor, but when he called in, they said that, Homeland Security opened them up.
What?
And I said, what? Yeah, that's what they told me. I later went back and told them, that they didn't, do any parcel runs, and they said that he had called, and the Homeland Security had opened up the packages and retaped the packages, had rifled through them. And I said, well, what the heck's up with that? I says, were they from a private party sent to you? And oh, no, they were sent from a business to me, some stuff I had ordered. They had ordered some Harvest Festival ceramic pumpkin and some other, things of that nature. And one of them was even scratched because it had been opened.
Okay, now
they did a poor job of taping it back up, and they, just threw it down, and supposedly it had my immediate post office's return address that had been checked and inspected.
Okay, maybe I'm missing something. Who delivered, or who put the packages where they were found?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. Who did it?
Yeah, and how did they sort
Homeland Security did it, or the inspection service along with Homeland Security did it. Now, mind you, these two people are in their 80s. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So this makes no kind of sense whatsoever. So, I would just say to people out there, not only are people going to be, putting their hand in your pants in the airports, but now you got to worry about, everybody and their brother rifling through your personal stuff that you're getting sent to you in the mail.
But caller, wait a second here. I got to ask. I must be thick or something here. Okay, let's say you're the postman for that area. Let's say you deliver. Oh, wait a second.
He is the postman.
Okay, but do you deliver parcels, or in other words, because if I recall correctly, when we got some audio equipment in, it was delivered. It came through the mail, but it was delivered by a different person than the mail person.
You got UPS.
No. I'm talking about like you know how the mail carrier delivers mail to your home.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was separate from the mail carrier. This was a parcel, U.S. mail parcel delivery person. Are they two separate things, or are they the same thing?
They can sometimes be. It's it depends on the volume of packages. If we're swamped because of a holiday or something like that,
okay.
Or in the case of like an express mail, sometimes they will have somebody, depending on the city. If it's a larger city, they'll have a designated express mail person or priority mail person that'll run around and just do express and priority mail packages all day long.
Okay, because I know my mail carrier, and we talk, and I say hello, and okay. So, but for example, if he would leave me a package, he would leave it, but I guess wouldn't DHS have to get that package from my mail carrier, or?
Well, he would have to get it before the mail carrier got a hold of it. In other words, he would have to either intercept it in the mail stream on the way to that mail carrier's post office, and these packages have to be scanned too. So typically, almost every package we get has a scanned barcode on it. And I didn't scan the packages, so my question is, okay, who did?
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you be responsible for it? I mean,
well, I would be if I put it down there, absolutely. But see, the thing that smelled rotten to me was, here's the package left in an unsecured place, basically, in a place that it could get wet, like the package you had, Joe, get wet.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a stand-up talk on that, last week, about how we're not supposed to be leaving packages unless the customer approves and authorizes it's okay to leave it, or it can be left in a very secure location. Well, typically when I deliver packages to this man, he knew I didn't do it because he knows where I put the mail. I mean, the mail is delivered right next to his front door, and any packages I have are delivered next to his front door, and it's inside of basically a closed room. So it's not like, it's even visible from the street.
Okay.
So, yeah, this whole thing smells rotten to me, And so, I don't know. Here we go, one more thing,
Have you heard of this happening anywhere else or at all? Or, I mean, you've got your ear to the ground, being in the position that you're in. I mean, is this? Was anybody surprised by this, or anybody saying, "Hey, wait a minute, something's not right here"?
Well, I mentioned it to one of the other carriers when I got back in, and he says, "You got to be kidding." And I says, "No." I says, and you know, the post office told him it was the Homeland Security that opened the package up, and I'm thinking, okay, it's from a known sender, and see, that's the whole thing. You know, for our security purposes, if it's a known sender like a business and they have a known sending address, they have a metered meter which the post office recognizes as a known sender, right. All of that kind of stuff, you know, it's not an issue.
Right.
So why in the world did a known sender, you know, that sent the package to these folks, you know, their package have to get opened up? You know, I don't get that. And both boxes were opened and retaped, and as they put it, retaped poorly.
Wow.
Now, this man, you ever suspected this man was involved in drug dealing, any kind of criminal activities?
No.
Nothing to warrant?
Absolutely.
I mean,
okay.
No, this guy is a very nice man, and he's kind of a gruff old codger, but, you know, I'll tell you what, you know, he's one of those kind of people that doesn't take any guff off anybody either. And he says, you know, I want to find out who did that, and I'm going to chew some butt. And I said, be the first one to do so, just know it wasn't me. He goes, oh, I know it wasn't you that did it, because he says, I know that you put them where, you know, it's safe, and, you know, I can depend on you to put them in the right place. And I said, yeah. I said, and we don't, you know, typically do any early morning parcel deliveries either. You know, once in a while it'll happen in the Christmas season, you know, if we're, you know, swamped with packages. But, you know, definitely not now.
Okay.
So it stinks to high heaven.
Yeah, it does. We are going to look into this because this is not
something else to keep our eye on.
Well, you know what, and I look at it, you know, we have to look at the sanctity of the mail. There is no sanctity of the mail anymore, just like there is no sanctity to your personal private parts anymore when you go, you know, through a TSA agent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me it's the same sort of thing. I mean, and we're talking, there's nothing to hide. It's two 80-year-old people that minding their own business, John Q. Citizen, you know, John Q. Public out there. And, you know, how many other people are having the same things going on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without knowing it either. I mean,
exactly.
It was a sloppy, you know, it was a sloppy agent who did this because.
In 1954, they talked about. I read from the Zbigniew Brzezinski book where it talks about control of mass communications, and back then he even stated that mail is not safe. That they look through.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But the thing is, it's so blatant. I mean, it was obvious that it happened. You know, I mean, it wasn't like they took any pains to go and make sure that it you know, it got looked into, but it got taped up to make it look like it didn't get looked into. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a poor tape job, and it wasn't the original taping job, and it's kind of the same thing. You know, like Joe was saying about, you know, they looked like it got looked through, rifled through, you know, and then just thrown back up on the porch. I mean, it's that same kind of a thing. And it was never a package that I ever delivered, even, you know, a day or two before. You know, so, and then why would it have my post office return address on it? On, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're okay. Yes. Wow.
So,
okay.
Anyway, I just thought you guys ought to have a heads up on that, and you know, people watch your stuff, and you know, I don't know if it would do any good to go to a congressman because I think they're all on take two, but you know, who knows? It's worth a try.
Wow, but I think though this is important for people to know, and folks, you heard it here first, maybe. Wow, we all know that there's that possibility out there. But for you to actually say this happened, and you know, I mean, look, that's amazing. Okay, wow.
So there's more than just financial issues of the post office, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, indeed there are. Okay, well, thank you very much, caller.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
you're welcome, gentlemen. Have a good evening. Thanks
too.
a lot for what you do. Mm-hmm. Bye bye.
You know, that bothers me a whole lot.
Yeah,
I mean more than.
No, it's
usual.
disturbing. And the packages, the way they were left on my porch, it looked weird. I didn't check to see if they looked open or not. Like I said, the one was wet. It had a book in it. The book was not wet, but it just, we got to our porch and we saw a package on either side of the door, you know, one half hanging off the edge of the porch under the railing and the other one just kind of tossed over on the other side. It was weird, and but hey.
But you would have to have, in this case, you'd have to have the physical act of somebody taking that package, intercepting it, going through it, and then delivering it at a different time.
And that's the key. Are they intercepting it, or are they doing this at your front door when they know you're gone? Who knows?
Well, see, like in our neighborhood, my neighborhood, that is. Look, I don't know. It's worthy of exploration. We're going to be looking at that closely.
We're going to go back to the phones. Area code 519. We're going to go to you. You are live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Area code 519.
Yeah, it's you. You're up.
Hi, how are you?
Great. What's on your mind tonight?
I just wanted to say that I love you guys. I've been listening to you for a while, and I want to tell you, Doug, that you've come a long way. You and Steve Quayle getting along, and I know how you are because I'm the same way. You were skeptical and everything, and you're starting to see the truth. And I heard a caller the other night saying that you should listen to Mike Hoggart, and I want to tell you that you have to listen to him and listen to his video called Jesus Christ, DNA, and the Holy Bible, and it will send you to the next level because everything's all about our DNA in the Bible, and Satan is trying to destroy our DNA so that we're not redeemable.
And this has to do with the genetic modifications of everything from weather to food to humans to animals. Yeah.
Caller, when you said that, okay, God, and this was explained to me by someone actually in the intelligence field,
and I heard it.
Yeah, and you heard it, and I'll be doggone if I can actually relate it back, but it involves DNA and God's promise to man, and by corrupting DNA, God is being forced into a position where. Can you even articulate what I'm trying to say? God's being forced in a position where
He's going to have to take action.
Redeem us. He can't redeem us if our DNA is transformed. That's the point.
Right. But yes,
and he says that's the mark of the beast is when we're going to have a choice to become gods or not to, and that's the mark of the beast. We're going to have a choice to become gods or stay with God, and most of us aren't going to because we think we can have everything. We're not going to get it.
See, boy, it's kind of like, when you hear something, and at first it's like, what's this all about? The DNA, the bloodlines, the pure, the purity of one's DNA, and then you hear it explained in such a way that now it makes sense to you. It's hard to even argue with, and you've got historical context of the Bible.
Yeah,
right. I always wondered about Noah.
Yes,
Noah wasn't perfect. He was perfect in his DNA. That's the only reason he got saved.
That's it. Thank you for saying that. Noah was perfect in his DNA. Was not corrupted.
God destroyed the world because the DNA was totally corrupted. Everyone except those 8 people.
Right. Correct.
Yeah,
and that's what's coming very shortly.
But
right?
How? I mean, see, yes.
See, with this whole Noah situation, I've heard about this before. But what I understand is that what God was supposed to wipe out obviously continued, or
no. It was he wiped it out, but okay, this also...
He wiped it out, but they got to start over again because God gives us choices, right?
Exactly. And now this goes back to...
He wiped it out so we could have a chance again. That's it.
Right, and then man corrupted it again, and this...
And then we started the Tower of Babel, and he screwed us up and sent us all over the world and screwed up our languages, because we were all that one language at that time, right?
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
He screwed us up so it would take us hundreds and thousands, or thousands, a couple thousand years to get it back again. And now here we are again, right at the days of Noah.
Right. He didn't screw it up. He gave us. He made it so.
He didn't screw up. No.
He gave us a fighting chance, or gave us all the opportunity.
A fighting chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. This, I got to tell you, folks, this is one of the most fascinating avenues of research that you can get into, because this does involve like the mentality behind the globalist agenda, the mentality behind the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, the thinking that they could buy the future, which is what they're after.
The bloodline obsession.
And it also gets into the Third Reich and the Nazi plan. It's wow.
But it all comes down to Satan against God.
Yes.
Satan wants his children, and he wants us all to be his children, so we all die with him.
Right. He's trying to make himself...
He wants our DNA corrupted so that we cannot be redeemable.
Right. And, before... I got to tell you, caller, when you open up the conversation, about I've come a long way. Look, back in 2004, Steve Quayle sent me, or somewhere around there, sent me the book about John. And I thought, when I got it, I'm thinking, what do I really... come on. Are you serious, Giants? Come on. But when you read that, and Genetic Armageddon as well, when you read...
Right.
There was no way in the world 10 or 8 years ago I was even ready to address that. And I got to tell you something. I think people have got to be ready to really... You've got to be able to... be able to process the information. Does that make sense?
Truth.
Wow.
The truth is stranger than fiction.
Right. Correct.
The truth is the Bible is so crazy. Once you get into the Bible, it is like, when you read the Bible, if you just read it as a person reading a book, it's not even nothing. It's retarded.
Well, yeah.
Once the Lord gives you the insight, you start, like, I'm telling you, go to Mike Hoggard's and listen to his thing about DNA in the Bible. The tabernacle that he built, our chromosomes, it's all in there. Everything. It's all about the DNA. God is trying to save our DNA because we gave it to Satan when Adam and Eve ate the fruit. We gave him the one chromosome that Jesus didn't have. All men have and pass on to their children.
Yes.
Yeah, but okay. Satan is trying to. He wants to change us into gods, which is going to be the end for us all, right? In Revelation, it says, after you take the mark, men will want to die, but they won't be able to because Satan's going to make them immortal, but they're going to want to die because it's not what they thought they were going to have. It's going to be terribly bad.
Fantastic. Yeah, this is so important.
Yeah, I hope everybody...
This is the whole thing, man. When the Antichrist comes, he's going to say, hey, I got this cure here. I'm going to cure all your diseases. Just take this little whatever, right hand, forehead, wherever it is.
Yep. And right? Yes, and caller, I got to tell you, you again, back-to-back calls calls all night.
My name is Paul, by the way.
Paul, thank you. You've really hit on really like a subject that really needs intense understanding. Because if you're not ready if you're not at the
get Mike Hoggard on your show. He will explain it all, and he will get to people, and it's.
Okay, will do.
He's amazing. You guys are amazing. He's amazing, and
you're amazing.
The truth is coming out.
Indeed, it is. Well, thank you so much.
Indeed, it is.
Anything else before we cut you loose?
I love you guys.
All right, buddy.
We love you too.
Just keep on moving on.
All right, buddy.
And then higher.
Thanks for the call.
God bless you guys.
God bless you too.
All right.
And
I want to say this,
wow.
We all need to pray for, discernment on this issue. And Mike
discernment,
Hoggart,
yes,
we're going to definitely look into that, contact him, and L.A. Marzulli, somebody else.
Yes.
And
yes. But you know who was talking about it really far back was Steve Quayle.
Yeah.
And again, he said, read these books. Well, with all due respect to Steve, I wasn't ready. And we talked about this. I was not ready to accept this because, and the intelligence contact I had basically said, if people were told exactly what was going on, they could not process that information. They couldn't accept it. They could not. People would. There's just no way you can accept it. For example, just think everything that you think is true right now. I don't know. The moon. How's that? The moon. The moon is not a rock. The moon is actually a spaceship. If somebody told you that, okay? If somebody told you that, come on. Hey, this guy's... But what if it was? Okay, and again, this is an example. I'm not. Yeah. Don't send me emails saying I've lost my mind. But what if it was?
Well, the reason that people say it is the argument that was made on what you're referring to, what we watched together, is that the moon does not match the way it's supposed to be. The moon's bigger than Pluto. It perfectly.
I was using that as an example.
I watched. Didn't you watch that with me about the moon?
I don't think so.
It is. They say there is no explanation for the creation of the moon. There's no. They have a theory that a Mars-sized object hit Earth and a chunk broke off and it turned into the moon. But no planet the size of Earth has a moon nearly as big as Earth. We are like the only exception to the rule.
Again, this was
and that goes into God's creation. I see people writing in here earlier about the Book of Enoch, and that talks about that in the Book of Enoch. It talks about how universe was set up and how the moon and the has specific tasks and gives light. A certain proportion of light. I think it's a seventh less than the sun during a full moon. It's something like that.
All right.
But it is obviously when you see scientists and people in that area of expertise saying this, there's no way this can happen from just evolution or natural causes.
So what are you saying? Are you saying the moon's a spaceship?
Well, it was created. It doesn't fit. It's not possible. Just like how it's not possible, we're made up of little tiny atoms that are separate from each other, but somehow we're held together. That's what CERN's doing, looking for the God particle. They don't understand how we're held together, how matter is held together. That goes back into the sound and vibration. You know how we were talking about that.
Right.
And like I said a couple days ago, science more and more proves the Bible to be completely true. And I just wish they don't take that leap. They say, it's aliens, or they give some weird explanation for it, but never giving credit to the Creator, the Lord. And this is something we're going to have to, the DNA, because this is a reoccurring thing we're hearing week after week after week about the DNA.
DNA is key. Yeah. It's key because, again, what the globalists are doing, because my question is, hey, you've got billions of dollars, you've got control essentially of things. What more could these people want? But to preserve their bloodline, they're buying the future. They're assuring their place in the future. And this gets into a whole big thing, which, again, I can't even think this way, but okay, let me try. Imagine being able to live forever, or thinking you can live forever.
Yeah.
And as that caller mentioned, Paul mentioned too.
And we know this is part of the elite's goals. They want to merge with machines and be...
And one of the things
immortal.
I was told, and I think you might have heard this as well, the belief or the again, I don't want to lose people here, but it's so important to this mentality that drives everything else. The belief that memory resides outside of the body, or consciousness can exist outside of the body. And if you think about that for a minute, and I know it makes my head hurt. Thinking, what? Okay, well, you can actually inject your memory. Let's say you've got a fatal disease. You can be kind of put on ice. Again, I'm not saying anything other than
people do have their bodies frozen
cryogenically,
thinking they can return,
but come back and have your memories re-injected or whatever, or even in a new body type thing, or new fashioned body. Again, this is a mentality. I don't want to go there because, man, I tell you, I don't even know half of it. I know Steve Quayle knows a lot about this, and it makes my head explode. It just wow. But again, know that this is the mentality of the people who think that they can own the future.
Yeah, and I want to just add to this DNA stuff. We're still learning about this as we go. I mean, as much as I think I know, it's nothing. And this is not one of the areas that I have done research on further than what we've just been hearing recently about the DNA. I mean, we always knew about the bloodlines of the elite, how the incest is they have incest so they don't pollute their bloodline. And we know how that turns out. And this is something that's going to need to be looked at much deeper. Well, this is something that Steve Quayle talks about in that Genetic Armageddon.
It's a book that I looked at
a little closer.
I looked at that book 8 years ago, or 7 or 6 years ago, whatever it was, and I started reading it and I said, come on, put it down. I looked at it again here, earlier this year. I'm thinking, wow, it's the same book. Okay. Anyway, folks, we're at the top of the hour. And I want to thank each and every one of you for keeping with us. You're listening to the October 17th, 2012 edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We're right back after these messages. Stay with us.
We'll be back with your calls and more on the last hour.
Wow. Like what you're seeing out there? Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Bob Riley, and Johnson Powell. A lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. That's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook. Because without America, there is no free world. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you about nootropic, however you want to pronounce it. I got to tell you, with our modern corrupted diets from GMO foods, genetically modified foodstuffs, the pollution that we suck in and we're exposed to, we're not getting the totality of proper nutrient support. We need supplementation. Now, look, you can change how your system reacts to and absorbs nutrients. I'm going to tell you how. MindRegard.com. That's MindRegard.com. This increases, among other things, very healthy cognition. It increases the blood flow throughout your body into your brain. It provides antioxidant support, and also as a kind of a side benefit, the mood enhancement. It's got a calming effect. It's a combination of various Western confirmed dietary supplements, as well as supplements that have this really neat holistic effect, this positive effect on cognitive function. Folks, mindregard.com. I take it. It's made a difference in my life. Seriously, it makes me feel better. It's done a number of things for me I really can't get into, but let's just say that I haven't changed anything and in terms of dietary things, but I can tell you this. I've been taking that, MindRegard, or Nootropic at mindregard.com, and I've actually been able to cut down on some medicines, some prescription medicines. So, am I saying that that's responsible? No. I'm just saying that's the only thing I've done differently. Anyway, visit mindregard.com. That's mindregard.com, and mention Doug and Joe Hagmann, and I guarantee you they will have something for you.
A newly released report has claimed that the 44th President of the United States is a CIA creation. American investigative journalist Wayne Matson says Barack Obama, as well as his family, including his parents, stepfather, and grandmother, had connections with the CIA.
America, tonight, if you feel the same energy that I do, if you feel the same urgency that I do.
Exceptional orator, promise for the disillusioned, and change from the status quo. These are all what helped Barack Obama to become president 2 years ago. But now the reality seems to be something far from that. In what is being called a bombshell, investigative journalist Wayne Matson has revealed in a report that in 1983, President Obama worked for the Business International Corporation, which was a CIA front. The company used to conduct seminars with the world's most powerful leaders as agents abroad with CIA espionage activities. Matson says this intelligence connection runs in Obama's family. Obama's maternal grandmother, Madeline Dunham, was one of the first female vice presidents of the Bank of Hawaii in Honolulu. The report says this bank was also a CIA front for funneling money to oppressive dictators and rulers, such as former Indonesian President Suharto, who came into power through a CIA-backed coup. In the 1960s, Obama's father had been selected by the leader of Kenyan African National Union, Tom Mboya, to receive scholarship and be airlifted to the University of Hawaii. CIA files indicate that Mboya was an important agent of influence for the agency. The airlift was a CIA operation to train future agents of influence in Africa, which was a battleground between the U.S., the Soviet Union, and China for influence. As a Kenyan student in the University of Hawaii, Obama's father, who was already married and had a child with another on the way in Kenya, met Obama's mother, Ann Dunham, in a Russian class in Hawaii. This meeting eventually led to their marriage. Barack Obama's mother, Dunham, was divorced when his son was 4. She married Lolo Soetoro after meeting him at the East-West Center at the University of Hawaii, the center affiliated with CIA activities in the Asia-Pacific region. She worked for Tim Geithner's father, Peter, at the Ford Foundation, widely believed to be a CIA front. Now Matson is questioning that if Barack Obama, as is suspected, was subjected to the CIA project, either by brainwashing or being part of it, then it'll become problematic for an American president. He says if Obama has been brainwashed, then he can be controlled, and if he was simply part of this project, then he can be bribed.
One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention. You must handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 3 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. I don't know if you guys could hear that scrambling. And that's what we hear, or we're hearing, every night in the headphones. And part of the sound problems, we don't know what the heck that's about, as we think our sound problems are finally fixed.
I think we hardened up the
under
audio.
our control.
Yeah, under our control. Yeah. That's the key words there.
We have some callers on hold, and I'm just going through here to make sure this is not somebody that is a frequent guest, because it's the same area code.
Well, yeah, let's double check
but
that.
No,
okay, all right.
We're going to go to the calls. Area code 731 has been on hold the longest. We thank you for your patience. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
That's you, 731 area code. Go ahead. Are you there? Okay.
Is that me?
That's you.
That's you.
Oh, this is Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hey, I don't know if y'all got my email from General Major Paul Valet, but he has had some resources in the military. He's retired, and he has had some info in the military, like y'all have through your people, and he's saying the same thing about Obama and this military action that he's getting ready to take. So they're trying to publicize it so that they can stop it.
Okay.
So
now, okay, what are you telling us here? Paul.
We totally discussed it with him, and some of the military who are not free to say anything because, you know, he's their, quote, the Major Obama is over the military. But they are trying to stop the action that he is planned for, like the Ultraman man said.
Oh, okay, I get it now. Okay, so what you're saying, okay. So
it all lines up together. It's all the same. His is coming from the high of people in the military who are not allowed to speak. But since he's out of the military, he can speak. And I sent y'all his website, and he and his group want to march on Veterans Day in D.C. and get all the veterans up there and take Obama out.
Okay.
Not by death, but just get him out, because they are fearful that he won't come out if there's another election. And I also heard that Obama would not, that there would be no more debates, because Obama wants to come out looking like the hero and the savior of the country, and he wants to throw this Benghazi thing under cover. Now, another thing I wanted to comment on is all the stuff about all the people rallying up, and I don't know what's going on with the phone, but
yeah,
I say,
it's very scrambled.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I live in the deep South, as y'all know, and there is. I have purposely looked, because I counsel at Birth Choice here, which is, you know, we fight for girls not to have abortions. And
right.
We speak about the gospel to them and tell them about Christ. And but there's I think Obama's, just like he has tried to create turmoil and keep our eyes on those kind of events, just like he did with the Occupy Wall Street, and that came to an end. He's doing this to try to get the blacks or the people who are for him riled up. I think that's his philosophy. He wants to stir, he agitates, and he agitates. I don't think this is anything coming from people itself, because there is I was somewhere today and down here in the South, and there was such a kindness in the black community and in the white community. So
okay.
I just think this is another of his deceitful things to get us riled up. It's a diversion.
Yeah.
It's a diversion.
Do you think, are you saying that the military the news of the potential military action is a diversion, or is
no? I'm saying that all of the people, if Romney doesn't get elected, all of the blacks are going to protest and all. I do not believe that. There are so many blacks that do not like Obama down here in the South, and they're not crazy about Romney, but they know Obama is communist, and they can't stand what he stands for. So I think all of that is coming out of the Obama camp to get the people riled up, just like he was behind the Occupy Wall Street.
I get you, yeah. Well, boy, I'll tell you what. So,
yeah, and
we're going to have to check Paul Vallely's website out.
Yes, and his plan is to do this before the next debate, which is Monday.
Okay.
General Paul Vallely, Valley. Y'all search him out on the internet.
Okay, we're going to have to check that out.
Got a web.
Lucy, if you're saying that all of this is going to come down before the foreign policy debate on the 23rd, holy cow.
Yes.
Well,
that's what General Paul Vallely says. And then after I read Osserman Man today, I thought, they're all saying this. And because Obama wants all of the Benghazi stuff to be put behind him. He does not want to face up to the truth, and he wants to look like a hero who has gone in and killed the people who supposedly killed Stevenson and the rest of them, which I don't.
Okay, wow. Lucy, what we're going to do is we're going to check the website out, and I'm going to make a couple of contacts to see about this information. I mean, we're only talking a week from now, basically, 6 days.
Yes, no time at all. I'm trying to see here if I've got his website. I'll send it to y'all, so check your email for me.
Okay.
I sent it yesterday, and it's General Major Paul Vallely.
Okay,
he's got a website. Dear, I can't find it. But I'm blank. StandUpForTheTruth.com is his website. StandUpForTheTruth.com.
Okay, StandUpForTheTruth.com. I'm comfortable in giving that out, knowing the source. StandUpForTheTruth.com. Very good. Lucy, I'll tell you what, I do owe you an email. I will send you one out as soon as possible.
That was not the right website.
Oh,
I will send it again. I sent it last night, but I'll send it again. But he wants this, Paul Vallely wants this info out because he wants the people to see what Obama is doing, that he is willing to sacrifice people's lives in order to win an election.
Well, I think we already know that. Obama is a pathological.
Depraved.
Unbelievable. Well, Lucy, as always, I want to thank you for that heads up. We will search out General Paul Vallely's website. We will go over that information and make some contacts to see, because we're only talking with 6 days, and if that's the case, then it's got to be. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
And I will resend that to you right now, so you'll have it as soon as you have time to look at it, so you'll get the website.
Very good. I appreciate it. Lucy, God bless you. Thank you so very much. Wow.
Thank y'all. Keep standing strong, man. Keep standing strong in Jesus. He's our hope, our only hope.
That's exactly right.
So we will praise him, and I just keep thinking God inhabits the praises of his people, and we must praise him. We must praise him to get through all this.
That's the only way. And see, we have to look at the current events through a biblical and a scriptural and a spiritual worldview. Otherwise, none of this makes sense. Again, talking with Mr. Greg Evenson today, talking about how things are going to play out, the level of deception, the multiple layers of deception that we face with respect to the news, the headlines. Oh, it's incredible.
Yes. But this is right here upon us.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, Lucy, thank you very much.
I'm getting ready to send you the website right now.
All right, very good. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Lucy. You have a blessed night.
Wow, Joe. Wow, I'm telling you, man. It's just when you think you've kind of got everything, or you're on top of things, and knowing things. General Paul Vallely is not a unknown source. He's a big source. I got to tell you, man, this is pretty disturbing to hear this. Okay, well, all right, wow.
Yeah, getting back to what Lucy was talking about and what the article we mentioned at the beginning of the show, threats to assassinate Romney explode after debate. Obama supporters voiced desire to kill Romney over fears food stamps will be taken away. Despite numerous media outlets attempting to downplay this issue, Twitter exploded last night following the debate with new threats from Obama supporters to assassinate Mitt Romney if he defeats Obama in the presidential race.
But see, if you listen, I mean, if you heard what Lucy was saying, and I have a tendency to believe this, I don't know. I mean, other than the
right. I mean, what last debate we saw riots, threats to riot if Obama,
but nothing happened.
Right, and then now Romney does a good job on the debate, or I don't know. It was I didn't watch the debate. I don't know who they said won.
Plenty of excerpts.
Now threats to assassinate Romney. Now, if I were to tweet something like that, I can guarantee I would, I would bet my last dollar that there would be a police officer waiting at my door, from the time I said it on the show to when I got home.
But see, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the program. Are we being led astray by all of these, like Lucy said, perhaps distractions? Maybe these are. I don't have the answers. I do know that there are legitimate threats to riot. There are legitimate, obviously, all the time threats for taking out, murdering a presidential candidate. It's since forever. But when you see this, feels too organized to me. The threats to riot, feels too organized. The threats to the harm against Romney, feels too organized.
What's Obama's profession? Community organizer.
Ah, good point.
So, it's not a far stretch. He makes a few phone calls to some unions and some organizations like Acorn or SEIU or whatever and says, hey, get some people talking about this.
But, and again, if you... regardless of what you think about anybody, but about the messengers, forget the don't dwell on the messengers. Like, I hear people talking about Glenn Beck and how I don't like Glenn Beck or whatever. Look, forget about that. What's he saying? Well, it's interesting because Glenn Beck has brought on a lot of people and talked about these very issues in some form or another. And looking at the sources, all of this information that we've got out there, how to make sense of all this, because there's what happens if nothing happens? What happens if we get through the election, Obama loses handily, Romney wins, there's no violence? Does that make all of us look like kooks?
No.
Can that happen?
Okay. It doesn't make us look like kooks because we are reporting on actual events that are true, done by other people, either to make people look bad or not. It doesn't matter. We're still reporting on them. If there was a massive Twitter explosion of people saying there is going to be a huge earthquake tomorrow, it was trending or whatever, it made the news, and
Well, we don't report on it, and it happens.
That's an Earth event. Let's say a riot.
Look at the John Moore situation where he had somebody tell him that, Nibiru was going to pass by Earth between August 17th and September 20-something, and he said, this is big news to me. He doesn't know if it's true, but he felt the need to tell the public because if he didn't...
Without commentary.
Right, he said use your own discernment.
Okay.
And I think that's what we have to do.
But
we don't have to worry about us looking bad. I'm not worried about looking bad for reporting the news.
But when you assail the messenger and the message gets diluted, it corrupts the message, or if the message is corrupted, we'll say. Because how many times can somebody say, hey, you know what, the sky is falling, the currency is going to implode, the riots are going to take place. Now, again, I'm not doubting this information. I'm not doubting that this could or would happen. I'm saying how much of this is being planted out there so people can go out and report on it, distract us from what's really taking place, and then, while we're looking over in the left-hand side of our TV screen, we're not focused on what's really taking place on the right, or you know what I mean. We're so. I mean, does this make? Do you remember this? Are we Okay, go ahead.
You remember George Bush? The rumors that he was not going to leave office peacefully.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I wasn't into the political awareness. I didn't have the awareness I did now. I wasn't doing this for a living and wasn't
right.
That wasn't my primary interest. I was, researching 9/11 and all that stuff, but I didn't pay too much attention to the Bush not leaving office or maintaining power.
Right.
But now being a reporter, I guess,
investigative journalist, I would say,
we have to address the issue.
But again, I just don't. Here's the thing: I don't want to miss what's going on in the right hand, for concentrating too much on the left hand.
Right.
That's all. And
somebody in the chat room made a good point, saying, if nothing happens, it could be just another psyop, leading towards the next. How many times can people cry wolf or whatever, as you said before, people stop listening? Maybe that's the effect. I mean, we saw the Chicago NATO thing on May 20th or 21st when they locked down Chicago and black helicopters were there, and this unprecedented NATO presence and what's happening. That was we
know something's going to happen.
Then there was the Olympics. Everybody, I mean, they made it obvious almost that something was going to happen.
But we did. That's one thing we really didn't dwell on, except for the symbolism behind the Olympics.
Right. And now we see the same things happening again and again. So they could be conditioning us to a point where they threaten or put out all this information that X, Y, and Z is going to happen, and it never does, to the point where people are so sick and tired of, oh, you know what? It's fine. Nothing's going to happen. It never does, and then bam.
That's right. No, and believe me, I truly believe that we are going to have a massive economic meltdown. We are going to have problems. We are going to have riots. But I don't want to say it's going to happen. This way, like it's going to happen first here, then this, then this, then this. We know the general plan. We know the general idea. It's probably going to, from what we can put together, it's probably going to happen with economic, probably in Europe first, and then in the United States. What's the time period between the two? Could be hours, could be days. I don't know.
And Debbie makes a good point in the chat room. Look at all the liberties we've lost. Correct. And from one event, 9/11, in our country.
Exactly.
And then what has been since then, all manipulated, created terror attacks or plots, and no real event has happened since then. But our rights continue to be taken away. So there are effects from this also. I mean, whether it has an effect, it obviously has an effect on the mind of the masses because.
We look. As I wrote, something is in the air. We know people can feel something is coming at us.
We can hear the train whistle. We can see the train light. We just don't know how close it is. We don't know what the train looks like, but we can see the light. We can hear the whistle. We can feel the rumble on the tracks.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's coming. But what is it?
Yeah, that's what we keep going back to. And I truly believe it'll be a combination of the economic collapse and a food shortage, starvation situation. I mean, if we look, they say that the New World Order they will beg for that New World Order. The people will beg for it.
And that's a good point. We come full circle now, and we started out talking about this. So we have to go back and we have to look. The people who really run the planet, the 300 or so people that really know what's going on, we have to look at what they're saying, what they have said in the past, look at what they've been writing, what they've been saying, how they have laid things out, and then we can make an informed assessment. And we wrestle with this all the time. So this is almost an exercise, folks. What you're seeing is almost an exercise in what we go through all the time, trying to figure out, well, what's important here? Is for example, that explosion in Louisiana part of something else, or is it just nothing? Or sometimes, remember the old saying with Clinton, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And I don't mean to be crass or crude about that, but sometimes things just happen. Sometimes there are events that take place that are not part of the puzzle. But when you throw a whole bunch of pieces of a jigsaw puzzle onto a table and have 5 or 6 different handfuls of pieces of a puzzle that really don't fit into the puzzle, and you can't really tell, that just muddies the water. So,
we should work backwards. What do we know for sure?
What do we know for sure? We
know
we can't sustain ourselves economically. We know that for sure.
Right. We also know the Lord will always be with us and never will forsake us.
Good point.
If we
and we know that prayer works for discernment purposes.
Right.
Okay.
So we put our faith in Jesus Christ. We pray that we do God's will every day.
Yes.
And let the other pieces fall where they may.
But
at the same time.
Okay. Go ahead.
As being hosts, as being having a radio show and news program.
We come here every night to address those other pieces.
Yeah.
People listen because, okay, you've got other pieces. You bring on Steve Quayle, you bring on Greg Evans, you bring on these people, and they give other pieces.
Good saying. A lot of grandmothers out there probably have used over and over. It's better to be prepared.
Well, of course.
And hope for the best, or hope for the best
and prepare for the worst.
Prepare for the worst. Yes.
No, we know something is coming. We know that. We know that. It's not a question. That's determined. I guess it is. Okay. Well, geez. Is it going to be economic? Is it going to be a confluence of, as I said earlier, economic and military? Is it going to be economic, military, rioting? Is it going to be, how is it going to play out? Well, is that important? Yeah, I guess it's kind of important. But, I guess at the end of the day, you just got to, a few steps back, look at the end result, what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we can extrapolate from there. But, we want to serve as like a smoke detector in your house, because we don't look. It's one thing to wake up in the middle of the night and your house is on fire and you wake up because of the heat and smoke. But wouldn't it be a lot better to wake up by a phone call saying, hey, you know what? I see a little puff of smoke out in your front porch.
Yeah.
And we want to be that phone call. We want to be your smoke detector that's closest to the fire. That's our purpose. Boy, I just hope I didn't sound like a really big-time lunatic here. But
no.
You see where we're coming from? And I think to define and redefine, constantly redefine our purpose is what we need to do for our listeners and for the people that read us. Read our writings on HomelandSecurityUS.com and for Canada Free Press and other places, because we don't want to get caught up in the frenzy.
Right.
Frenzy is contagious. Rants are contagious. Bullhorns people shouting with bullhorns. I mentioned that because I saw somebody yesterday with a bullhorn talking about that.
And I agree. But what makes this period of time different than 4 years ago with Bush and previous? We are closer. The end times are here. The story, we talked about this before the program. A couple had intercourse at a restaurant in front of families and kids. I mean, this nation is so morally bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt.
Yes.
That no matter if the, tribulation and end of the world are in the next couple of years, we are, as a nation, we're done for.
Well, no, I think the morality of the general population, whether it's in the West or throughout the world, is on the ropes. If you can actually, and we're seeing this in the pandering to the perverse sex, the non-traditional sex, the acceptance of things on television, the acceptance of things in the movie theaters, the music, the satanic aspect. You're right, we are closer. We've got to watch all of this, and but I guess what I'm saying though, I guess what I'm saying right now is we have to identify what's important for everyone to the best of our ability, and use the God-given discernment and through prayer bring this to people. But because we do know how the story ends. We know how the globalists want it to end, but some of the things here in the middle, just because we might not see one event that we talk about, but we might see two others. Don't think that the end game among the players, the globalists, is changed, because they still want the same things that they want before. I guess it's a little bit of caution out there. Maybe I'm being a little bit too. Too cautious or too couching everything I'm saying, but I just want people to know that the next 60 days are going to be extremely important, the most important time in our nation's history, next to the 1776. But if everything goes smoothly, whatever that means, and if nothing dramatic happens, don't let your guard down. Do not let your guard down.
No. Everything we do, we should do with we should consult the Lord. We should be doing His will, not ours. And as long as we're doing that, we will be in the right place, doing the right thing, saying the right information, because He will, through His blessings, lead us to that place, to that discernment. And that's what gets me through everything is my faith, knowing that everything will be okay as long as I have the Lord with me, and nothing else matters really, as far as I'm concerned. And I hope everybody listening has that same comfort, that same faith. Just an example. Oh, I'm not going to get into that. We'll move on.
One thing I'd like to interject here is something I heard a while ago. What we're seeing taking place in the country right now is class war. Watch the debate. You can see the efforts to bring the class warfare about. Well, what does class war lead to in history? It leads to communism. Okay, what does race war lead to? Because now we're seeing that racial component being activated. Usually, and historically, race wars lead to fascism. Well, okay. So what? Well, we have to realize that globalists are not on the sidelines. They're controlling everything. The money is controlling everything. That's important. The power comes from their ability, by the way, to print unlimited amounts of money. Now, this is taking place in this country. So we know that the Fed is doing that. They're printing unlimited amounts of money.
I heard something interesting also. I think it was on True News when he had the guest on, that fiat currencies have a 100-year life. Which
I've heard like 100 or 200 years or whatever their life.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, their life expectancy historically is not that great. And folks, you can research this fiat currencies, and you can look in history about how fiat currencies have brought down nations. And we'll look at Russia too. What happened? I mean, again, they're still upset about us bankrupting them via Afghanistan. And who was the brainchild of that? Zbigniew Brzezinski. Okay, so we now have at least one model of his method there. So I just wanted to bring that out. And again, I certainly hope that I wasn't pushing this too far in terms of being cautious, but I think that biblically, I think that we, and the other thing that makes, speaking of biblical things, I do think that what we're seeing now with respect to Israel and our foreign policy, I think we're getting very close to the end, because Jerusalem is mentioned in the Scripture 811 times. And Jerusalem is identified as the city of God in the 2 Chronicles 6, I believe, or 33:7. I'm not sure which, but it's where Solomon built his temple and so on. And don't forget, Joel chapter 3, verse 2, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there. Or account of my people, my heritage, Israel. They have divided up my land, and I paraphrase quickly on that. But look, Jerusalem and Israel, they're going to be at the center of foreign policy, destruction.
Yeah.
So, foreign policy, our undoing, I guess.
Here's some interesting news. Something to look for tomorrow as this shakeout drill takes place. New Madrid shakeout drill, October 18th, parallels to planned Mexico earthquake.
How can you, wait a minute, planned Mexico earthquake? What are you talking about?
Okay, do you remember earlier this year when Obama's daughter was in Mexico? They had this simulated earthquake on the 20th of March of simulating a 7.9 earthquake.
Which I thought, we both thought that was rather odd at the time.
It took place, that they actually had an earthquake at the time.
Yes.
Okay. Now, look at this. The Get Ready to Shake Out. Kind of the same thing, simulating an earthquake.
A mass casualty event. Okay.
Right.
But
it says tomorrow, October 18th at 10:18, millions of people will participate in the earthquake drill, which has been supported by FEMA. Preparation for such an event.
Stop. How could, we got 10:18, October 18th, at 10:18. Who picks that time?
10:18 at 10:18,
Who picks that time? Why not say 10:30? Why not 10:15? Why 10:18?
Yeah, that's a good question.
10:18 at 10:18? I mean, is that because they just want us to remember? What?
I don't know. We'll know tomorrow.
All right, so go ahead and continue. I interrupted.
It says normally this type of event could be laughed off as fear instilling, centralization of authority, but earlier this year the same type of drill became prophetic.
Okay.
And this past March, Mexican authorities planned a 7.9 magnitude earthquake drill for March 20th at 12 p.m., and a devastating earthquake then took place exactly the day, time, and magnitude which was planned as the simulation.
If an earthquake happens at 10:18, where's this going to be? New Madrid, or Cincinnati?
This shakeout is in more than 12.5 million people are registered to participate in the shakeout. I know it was in West Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina,
so multiple
the Virginias, the District of Columbia, multiple states.
Okay, multiple areas. And by the way, I've been receiving, again, to tell you folks, I've been getting information about something taking place in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has come up in so many pieces of correspondence. I don't know what's going on in Cincinnati, but if you live in Cincinnati...
And I've seen only a few things on Cincinnati.
I've been getting all kinds of stuff about Cincinnati from different people.
Anyway. Well, yesterday we had a 4.6 earthquake in Maine that was later downgraded to a 4.0. Today we've had a 2.7 earthquake and a 3.2 earthquake The 3.2 happened in Oklahoma, and the 2.7 happened in northern Texas.
Well, we had that earthquake in Portland, Maine.
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. 4.6 downgraded to a 4.0. So there is activity. We have what's going on in Louisiana between the explosion, the sinkhole, whatever else is going on.
I'm going to tell you, if at 10:18 tomorrow morning an earthquake happens,
what does that tell us?
Well, it would tell us a whole heck of a lot. But look, I really, I mean, really.
Well, we'll see. We'll see in less than 12 hours, and I pray that nothing happens and people conduct a drill and maybe learn some.
Well, yeah, I hope so. I mean, look, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah,
but it's
we need
something to watch.
And this is important. I guess what we've been talking about for the last half hour, we need to rely on the Lord. I need to rely on the Lord more than I do.
Me too.
In every piece of information I look at, in every article I read, I need to ask Him, Lord, is this something I need to focus on? Is this important? And
I think we all have to do that, especially us, because
I mean
the level of we cannot squander the level of trust that we've earned or perceive we have. I don't know which is.
I mean, I'm not worried about that. We're not out here, making up stories.
No.
We're reporting on things that are going on, being reported on. What I'm concerned about is missing something very important because of focusing on other things.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
I guess you said that a lot quicker than I did.
Yeah, and that's the problem I have. But keep your eyes, ears, be on a full state of alert tomorrow.
I would do that
just in
well.
case.
And ladies and gentlemen, let me advocate something else here. Again, we do know that something is in the works, and we do know that economically, mathematically, we're going to be in for a financial collapse. And Cynthia called earlier in the program. Boy, just go through and just how she methodically, with notes, said, "Gee, this is through research, this is what it appears or what I found." That I don't think I could have done a better job explaining that. But look, I would urge everyone just to double check if you do have make the time, double check your food inventory, food and water, of course, are vital. Just double check it because we need. Time is short. I believe time is short. Again, it goes back to when is it going to happen? I don't know. I do know that time is short, so check your inventory of food and water. Check Holly Deo's book is
Welcome to CUBN Christians United Broadcasting Network.
We talked about, well, geez, could we be, could there be things that we're missing and we're not, what's important, and trying to use discernment. Well, look, we know that the debates, you can look at all the polls in the world. The Gallup poll, for example, Romney's 51%, Obama 45%. But at the end of the day, is it really going to make that much of a difference? Are these polls? Well, I shouldn't say that. Obama is. We have to change. Obama cannot win. We must not let that happen. That's all I'm going to say. We just must not let that happen. We have to start somewhere, don't we? We've got to start somewhere. And even if you think Romney is just as bad as Obama, we've got to start somewhere. And even if you think the elections are fixed, we still have to start somewhere. But we cannot allow Obama, in my view, to continue. Because if he does, the mask will come off. What little we've already seen behind the mask once in a while.
I mean, this guy, look what he's done in his first term with the re-election coming up. I mean, completely lawless, criminal, totalitarian behavior on his part. And I can't imagine what a second term with him not worrying about re-election would be like.
But wouldn't you think, and this is something too, think about this. If you were George W. Bush, the last Bush, the younger Bush, if you were him and you truly loved this country and you were a true Christian, a God-fearing Christian, you can't tell me, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot tell me that he did not know about Obama. You can't tell me that. So if he knew of all the things that were going on with Obama, his background, his ineligibility, his proclivities to taking this country down the wrong path, why didn't he stand up and say, you know what, this week I can't allow this? I mean, why did he keep quiet for the last 4 years? Because wouldn't
right? I mean,
acquiescence indicate complicity?
Obviously, Bush didn't care about the people of this country. I don't think many presidents have, and
but this is
for a long
different.
time.
But
it's not different. When you have a satanic cabal of Luciferian possessed and occult worshiping people who own the whole world, own the people who run, our government.
Yes, I know. I understand that.
Do you think George Bush would sacrifice his life in giving that information out when he can live comfortably? Probably already is tied. I mean, he was a part of Skull and Bones. Probably already tied in. We had to pray for Obama. We had to pray for Bush that they can be saved. I mean, maybe they could have a change of heart, and maybe they will. Who knows? But it's from their actions. No, they're all in on this. They're part of the plan. They're promised the promises of the elite that they're going to have the immortality. So I think that plays a big part in it as well.
No, I guess so. Why else would George W. Bush and family have this big spread in Paraguay, like I mentioned yesterday?
Right. What about the DIA, the Denver International Airport? Why?
What's going? Really, we need to know what's going on there.
Many high-level elitists been buying property all around there.
But see, and again, look. But did you hear this part of the conversation with the intelligence contact about the Denver International Airport? It was, built away from the city. They could do what they wanted, move in the dirt.
Yeah.
And people wouldn't ask any questions. It's right underneath our noses. And of course, you go into the airport and look at the murals, the odd stuff on the walls. Tell me.
A statue of Anubis, a big blue horse with red eyes. And they did have the King Tut exhibit there where they put up a...
But see, to me, this would be like going into my neighbor's house and seeing a pentagram on his floor.
Right.
Okay. And not saying anything, just kind of walking over to grab a beer out of the fridge in the kitchen or something. All right.
People who have no motivation to look into things further will never understand the symbology there. People, look at all the masses that, applauded and loved the Super Bowl halftime show. Love the Olympic show,
but that's not
all occult symbolism. It's all the
but that's
worship.
Not as in your face as that's
it is in your face.
But that's okay. Wait a minute. That's not out of place. If you look at the Denver International Airport, and this is part of the globalist agenda, so we're not really going that far off of track here. If you look at this, isn't that so obvious? How can you walk through? And I'm sure the globalists are delighted that people aren't talking about this. They're delighted. They're saying, look at this. Look at what we've done. We've put this right under their noses, and they don't even know. And how great is that? Look at how powerful we are.
Yeah.
Man. Or look at how stupid these people are.
Yep.
Yeah, so... but even at that, like I said, like with the analogy of the pentagram on the floor of the kitchen of my neighbor's house, which of course I'm not saying I'm using it as an example. It would be like me walking into the kitchen, stepping, the pentagram on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
A lot of people in chat are making good points and understand it the way I do. Colorado is the new headquarters for America.
Yes.
That's where Obama signed the health care.
And there's a lot of symbolism in that.
That's where he held the convention in 2008, the Democratic convention.
Where he came out like a pharaoh.
Right. There could be a lot more behind this than we really know or understand.
Is this what we need to be looking at most?
We need to be seeking the Lord for answers, because it is whatever is going to happen is written and is sealed up, and it's going to happen.
Okay.
In the book of Daniel, he says, seal the scroll until the time of the end. It is written, and put it away. So we know God knows what's going to happen. He knew what was going to happen, before he created Earth. In my opinion, so everything is already complete. We just have not lived it out yet.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that's kind of a powerful work through. I have to say that is.
So by putting our faith in the Lord, that is, first of all, our personal salvation. The question you have to ask yourself: do you want to spend your eternity in hell, or do you want to spend your eternity in heaven? But that should not be the reason for turning to Jesus.
It's not out of fear. I understand the motivation factor.
For me, doing what we're doing now, I'm scared the heck out of other. Knowing how many people are being deceived, knowing how many people are going to fall into the trap and go to hell because they did not have that pure faith in the Lord. That's what really bothers me, and that's who we are trying to reach. Are people who are not spiritually ready for what is coming, and we are fighting a spiritual battle worse than,
But, we're seeing talk show hosts fall like dominoes.
Yeah.
Quitting, falling, saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired.
And it's not just talk show hosts. It's people in finance, people in government.
Well, those people are doing it for a different reason, but some talk show hosts that I know saying, no, packing it in. But see, this is when we have to excel, put our foot down harder on the accelerator and say, look, we need to fill in the gap. And look at Savage, Yeah, I understand why he did that today. Okay, but I understand that. But still, we've got, and you're right, because if we could change the mind, hearts, and spirits and save perhaps
one person,
yeah,
it's all worth it.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the end of our show. We want to thank each and every one of you for listening and tuning in via whether it's live or archived. God bless you. We will see you tomorrow. We do have guests lined up, just not scheduled or penciled in.
God
bless you all.
Actually,
we'll see you tomorrow.
10 seconds.